Thank you, Les Corla. I welcome this motion and will be supporting it, and indeed the Sinn Féin amendment. You know, it's all very fine to be living in Dublin or in major cities, but when you go down the country, and when you do as I do and as most Oireachtas members down the country do, to drive their constituencies every week, you find that the local and regional roads are in absolutely atrocious conditions. They can hardly be driven on. The rural bus service that Deputy Ryan speaks about isn't able to drive on some of these roads, they're so bad. I can tell you that from Carrick-on-Shore up to Gortonhoe and on to Littleton, from Ballingarry over to Hollyford and Upper Church, and from Cloheen up to the Lower Ormond, the roads are in an absolutely disgraceful condition, potholed. As a former Count Corley here, local man in Tipperary, said, Deputy Sean Tracy, he said at one stage, you could bury one of Burke's pigs in the potholes in Tipperary, and you could now bury the whole lorry load of Burke's pigs in the potholes in the local and regional roads in Tipperary. And it's so bad that the local Chief Executive Officer, Joe McGrath of Tipperary County Council, wrote to us all about 2 weeks ago, and he said, and I'm going to quote him, he said, the local roads, it is acknowledged that there has been an accelerating deterioration in regional and local roads, which is directly attributable to the deficit in investment on these roads over successive years during the economic downturn. The investment deficit on the roads, that is, the amount of spend necessary to restore these roads to an acceptable standard and within an acceptable time frame, is, would you believe, €180 million. And again, we're talking about regional and local roads. We're not talking about motorways. And of course, the condition of these roads is exacerbated by repeated incidents of flooding and extreme weather events that we've been having. The Chief Executive Officer goes on to say that, for comparison purposes, the total national allocation of €416.8 million for 2018 is still only about 2/3 of the non-national roads allocation in 2008. So there is a huge problem on local and regional roads. And remember, these are the roads where ordinary people living in local areas, they go to work, go to school, do their business, do their farming, do their shopping, go to sports fixtures, go to religious events. They use them in their normal daily living. And the fact of the matter is that in very many cases, their cars are being damaged, and they're hardly able to drive some of these roads. They're so bad. So we need, Minister, we need an emergency allocation of funding for these roads immediately, and we need you and the government to honour the commitment you made in the programme for government that you would increase funding for these roads by 50%. Now, in the minute or so left to me, I want to refer as well, Minister, to the N24. And as you know very well, the N24 is a huge social and economic lifeline, and should be a huge social and economic lifeline for the South East, for Tipperary, for Kilkenny, for Waterford City and County. But it is completely not fit for purpose. And despite its importance, the N24 suffers from slow journey times, is substandard in its design and alignment, and is congested, whereas it is routed through a number of towns and villages, including towns like Tipperary Town, Clonmel, Carrick-on-Shore. And the vitality and growth of those towns and villages along that route is also dependent on the removal of heavy traffic from those towns. For instance, there are thousands of vehicles, including huge lorries, going straight through Tipperary Town, the main street in Tipperary Town, on a daily basis, destroying the business, destroying the roads and destroying that town. And we've been looking for a bypass for that town, Minister, for over 20 years, and it's now time to deliver on it. And we certainly hope that it's going to be in the capital programme that you'll be announcing next Friday. because the N24 is hugely substandard and is vitally necessary for that whole southeastern area. Also, there's a bypass needed for Clonmel and for Carrick-on-Shore. So, Minister, finally, just to say again, we need an emergency allocation for the local and regional roads. We need the 50% increase promised. We want that delivered and delivered immediately. And I want to ask you as well, and the CEO, when he wrote to us, his final sentence was, he says, I've written to Minister Ross seeking his agreement to meet to outline the accelerating deterioration in parts of our road network, with particular emphasis on non-national roads. And I would ask you to accede to that request to meet deputation from Tipperary.